Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett. Oh no, I think I'm about to have another episode.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Charlie Jewett from the Renovating Retirement Podcast, and man, has it been a long time. I apologize. I'm sorry that I had to take a couple of months off. Moral of the story? Never try to do a daily podcast during a difficult custody battle. Dun, 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 dun. We live and we learn. We live and we learn. But guess what? We never give up. I'm back. It's time for episode 84. I was in the middle of 8 episodes highlighting the chapters coming from my book that who knows when it's going to be out with the way life is going, but the book is called Keeping Your Money. We covered Keep It in Focus, we covered Keep It Global. Now, today we're going to talk about Keep It Real. You must have real growth for your money. Now that sounds oversimplified. Why would someone even need to say that? Well, I would not need to say that if the entire industry was not built very purposefully on a lie related to growing your money. Covered this in episode 4, I believe. Is your advisor smarter than a 5th grader? I've been talking about this for years, writing articles called Is Your Advisor Being Mean? M-E-A-N. People, you must be actually compounding your money, not earning some bogus average rate of return, which the stock, bond, and mutual fund salespeople want you to be distracted by. Let's do something very, very simple, because compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, not capital gains or average returns. Let's just go to any search engine. I'll use Google and type in future value or future value calculator. I find one from Investopedia. Okay, so I'm at investopedia.com/calculator/blah blah blah. I'm here. It says, okay, what's your interest rate interest rate per time period. Let's go 4% per year. Number of time periods, 30 years. I don't care if that's 30 years of you working until you retire, or if it's 30 years of you living after retirement. 30-year time periods are good to look at. What's today's present value? Let's say today's present value is $100,000. Doesn't really matter what number I pick, but let's just look at growth at different percentages, because this is real growth. When you use a future value calculator, or you look at future compound interest, it's real rate of return, and we've got to keep it real. All right, let me hit calculate. 4% for 30 years, starting at $100,000, we have basically $25,000, $325,000. All right, well, let's change that from 4 to 5, just one more percentage point. If you can just earn a little bit more interest in a real rate of return, our $324,000 future value goes to $432,000. We have more, that's like a 33% growth or something like that, just doing it real fast in my head. To have 30% more money by getting 1% more rate of return, well, how can you do that? You can pay really close attention to fees, not use mutual funds, use indexed annuities that have 0 fees instead of having somebody manage a bond portfolio and charge a fee. There's a number of ways to do that. But more importantly, I just want you to see how real rate of return works first before I go back and expose this lie. Let's go from 5% to 6%. So at 4%, we were at about, I think, 325. At 5%, our future value was 432,000. Let's go to 6% and see what this bad boy will do. Holy smokes, $574,000. So just 2 extra percentage points if you go from 4% to 6%. And I'm not kidding. That could just be applying what Tony Robbins teaches in his book about paying attention to your fees, possibly not using mutual funds or using no-fee investments. Even using tax-free investments where you don't have to give that extra percentage to the government, let's say. Going from 4% to 6%, you end up with $324,000 versus $574,000. Not quite double, but almost double. Now, why is this important? If you don't understand the magic of compound interest, you're not going to understand how devastating and powerful that this lie, this falsehood that's propagated in the industry, how much it's going to hurt you either saving for retirement or in retirement. So compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Earning more is better, so paying less fees is better perhaps. Now, let me jump into a situation that's going to kind of prove this point here. Actually, let me do this. Let me start with what I covered in episode 4, which is from Len Ranier's Wealth and Wisdom Institute. There's infinite number of different ways to earn any percentage. Let me just take $1,000 and show you 4 of the ways that you could be averaging 20% rate of return. Because if I said I could give you 20% rate of return, you'd say, oh my goodness, that'd be wonderful. I'd love to earn 20% rate of return. When you should be asking, Charlie, are you talking about averaging 20%? Or are you talking about compounding my money at 20%? And over and over and over again, I'm trying to teach you, how do you hold your advisors accountable? How do you hold them accountable? As soon as they fail one of the tests, you fire them. They're not good enough. They're either professionally ignorant or they're immoral. It does not matter which one it is if they're not capable of doing good to you. Because they don't know how or they don't care, they must be fired. How do you hold them accountable for growth or for real rate of return? Let's take a look at this. There's 4 different ways I'm going to show you of the infinite ways you can do this, but to turn $1,000 or to grow $1,000 by 20%, it could be over a 2-year period. It goes up 20% the first year, up 20% the second year. Well, what's it averaging, Charlie? We add them together, 20% plus 20% divided by how many years? 2 years. Okay, 20 plus 20 is 40, divided by the 2-year time frame we have. We're averaging that 20%, because 40 divided by 2 is 20. Well, that's good, and that's what everybody's going to show you. That's what the compound interest calculator is showing you, or the future value calculator is showing you, and that's all well and good if you can get it, because that way of averaging 20%, your money actually grows from $1,000 to $1,440. That's nice. If you can take $1 million portfolio, turn it into $1.44 million, now we're talking, baby. However, there's an infinite number of different ways to average this 20% or the 6, 7, or 8 that you're being told you can get in mutual funds and stocks, etc. What's one of the other ways? Well, the first year it might go up 60%. I know I'm exaggerating this. This is not normally what happens in the market, but if you don't understand this mathematical reality, you're going to suffer like everybody else does and have the same terrible average lifestyle in retirement that the rest of the world does. And I shouldn't say world, the rest of our country does, and the average retirement is not very good, trust me. All right, so you could go up 60% in year 1, then down 20% in year 2. Well, what are we averaging, Charlie? Let's add the 2 together. Positive 60 minus 20, that's the same 40% we got before, divided by how many years? 2 years. 40 divided by 2 is 20. We're averaging 20% rate of return over the same 2-year period. This happens over 30-year periods, 10-year periods, whatever. I'm just using 2 to prove it. So 40 divided by 2, we're averaging 20%. However, the one most important number in your life, which is the balance of your account, the most important number in your life, probably besides permanent income, whatever guaranteed income is coming in, is this amount of money you have, or the balance. And the balance is going to be different because you earned the 20% in a different fashion. 1,000 goes up 60% and then goes down 20%. You end up with 1,280, 1,280. Charlie, what the heck? How is it possible that we're averaging 20% in both scenarios? But one of them, you end up with 14.4. The other one, you end up with 12.80. Let's use my example of $1 million to make it more kind of real how this could really hurt you. Can you imagine having the same average as your neighbor, but his million turned into 1.44 million, your million turned into 1.28 million? Maybe you're with the same advisor. You're looking at your statements. You both averaged exactly the same rate of return over the same time frame, but you got gypped out of $100 and something thousand. What would you think? What would you feel? How would that affect your life? What's going to happen over the next 2, 5, 10, 15-year periods? It's just a big gamble. Well, that's not as bad as it gets. You can average 20% and be losing money. I've taught this in multiple shows. Average rate of return or earning 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% means nothing. Your advisor could be getting paid, you could be losing money, and your statement could say you're making 5, 6, 7% because they're using the mean, the mathematical average. What if it goes up 100% in year 1, down 60% in year 2? Well, that's not usually what the market does, Charlie. I don't care. I just want you to understand the mathematical reality that this is a lie, that when they say the market goes and grows at 8, 9, 10, or God forbid, Dave Ramsey says it grows at 12% per year, it is a lie. I'm not going to mince words because it pisses people off. This is hurting people in retirement on purpose to make money. That's why this number is used. There's nothing useful about this false number. If the market goes up 100% in year one, and then there's an adjustment of 60% down in year two, you're still averaging 20% over a 2-year period. Why is that, Charlie? 100% minus 60% or plus the negative 60%, that's the same 40% growth over the 2 years. Divided by 2 is 20% per year. However, your $1,000 went up 100%, so it turned into $2,000. That big number went down by 60%, and you're down to $800. People, if you gave your advisor $1 million and 2 years later you had $800,000 minus the fees, and he handed you a statement that said you made 20% over those 2 years, how would you feel? Okay, that's how you should feel right now anyway, because your advisor's charging you fees and showing you statements and showing you historical performance using these mathematics. I promise you. Unless you're in something that never goes down, there are no negative years, like an indexed annuity, indexed universal life insurance, or something like that. And you know I don't teach that those are the answer to everything. I certainly am going to teach the reality, the mathematical truth, because this is universal, has nothing to do with me. When you don't go below zero, when there are no losses to your account, the average rate of return and the actual rate of return are about exactly the same. You don't have this mathematical game that people use to play with you to hurt you. How about this fun one? Okay, you take $1 million, you go to the casinos, you gamble it all for one day. You're up 140%. Booyah! And like everybody who wins a bunch of money at the casinos, you say, "Thank you, Jesus," and you walk out, right? No. You stay too long. You stay for a second day because you're on a roll, and you lose 100% of it. You went in with $1 million, you went up by 140%, and then you lose 100% of it. Well, if you lose 100% of any number, how much is left? 0. Thank you for being so good at math. You have 0. But what are you averaging during your 2 days at the casino? What were you averaging? Well, you went up 140%. You went down 100%. Well, 140 plus a negative 100 or minus 100%, that's 40% divided by 2. Over 2 days, baby, you were averaging 20% growth. And how much money do you have left? 0. People, you know nothing about what your balance is going to be in your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate. You know nothing about their future value. And looking at past performance does not tell you what type of growth you're going to get. It gives you a false number called the mathematical mean or the average that very, very, very popular advisors teach that you can actually have that. And that is damaging. So you've got to keep your growth real. It must be real compound rate of return, not any of this BS average mathematical mean baloney. If your advisor is using those numbers, they have disqualified themselves from playing a role in your life because they're going to hurt you. It doesn't matter if it's ignorance or immorality. They must be taught a lesson. Say goodbye to them. If you really love them and love the relationship with them, keep inviting them to Christmas parties and watch how fast they don't come when you stop paying them to be your friend. Okay, let's look at this another way. There's an amazing, I'll try to put this up, maybe a link in the show notes. I'll try to put it up on Instagram, but there's an amazing PowerPoint that I'm going to open up right here, just one of the pages, and it's about average rate of return, exactly what I'm teaching. And the last page says sequence of returns, how you earn the interest. So if you're going to average any, average, if you're going to average 8 and so is your friend, how much money you have left at the end depends on the sequence of returns. When did you get your positives? When did you get your negatives? So what I have on the screen here and what you can hopefully go see on Instagram is Steve, Bill, and Jim. Steve is in the blue column, Bill's in the red column, and Jim is in the green column. Let's hear it for Jim. I guess I like green. It's a money show. Why not? And what it's showing is from 1990, if Steve retired in 1990 or started saving in 1990 or whatever it is. Well, I guess it's retired because there's withdrawals. So if Steve retires in 1990, and for 20 years, he's taking out $30,000 a year from a $500,000 account. So Steve's got $500,000. He's living off of $30,000 a year, and he's going to, see what happens over 20 years. Well, over that 20-year time frame from 1990 to 2009, his balance, even though he's taking out $30,000 a year, his balance goes from $500,000 up to $822,000. Steve is making money while taking an income from his account. Now that's awesome whether you're an A planning family or a B planning family. Remember, A planning families need income and they're going to leave whatever's left over to their kids, but the priority is income while you're alive. B planning families don't need income, so they're just trying to grow their estate and leave as much as they can, avoiding taxes and increasing the size of it. They're going to leave it to charities and loved ones. Doesn't matter which family you are. You're taking $30,000 a year out of a $500,000 account, and it grows from $500,000 to $855,000. That's a winner, baby. That's a nice 20-year time frame. And how do you get that growth, Charlie? What does the market need to do? The market averaged 8.25% over that 20-year period. Now, this is the kind of 20-year period that your joker broker is going to show you to convince you to take unnecessary risk, to forfeit all the amazing benefits of indexed annuities and indexed universal life insurance and single premium life insurance contracts and market-linked CDs. They're going to use this type of 20-year period to get you to ignore all the other wonderful things in the world that they don't get paid on or don't like how they get paid on. Because this particular way of earning 8.25%, this is the one you're hoping for when you roll the dice and gamble on the stock market. That was a good way to earn 8.25%. However, Bill and Jim also took an income stream for 20 years and also averaged 8.25%. However, the way the 8.25% average baloney bogus number was given to them didn't work as well. Well, let's mix up how the returns come in, though, because Steve retired in 1990, and over that 20 consecutive years, from 1990 to 2009, it went really, really well that his account went up, even though he was taking income. But what if we randomly mix up those numbers? What if we, take 2000, which was negative 6.18, and say that's the first year for Bill, a second guy we're looking at, and then 2001, 2002, 2003. What if we mix up how these numbers came in? And it looks like this first example. What are we doing here? Okay, we're just switching the 10-year periods. We're saying, what if the returns from 2000 to 2009 came in first, and the returns from 1990 to 1999 came in second? It's the same returns. It's the same average of 8.25, which if you go look at the picture, you can see. What's the difference in Bill's life if the market delivers his 8.25% rate of return in an unfavorable manner? He's taken $30,000 a year off of a $500,000 account just like Steve. However, his $500,000 goes to negative $201,000 by the time his 20-year retirement is up. Or you could just say, what is that, 15, 16 years into it, he's completely out of money and has no income left over. Now, this can't happen with indexed annuities with a guaranteed income rider. If you buy a pension, nobody should have an income problem if you've heard this show. However, you need to see why that's so important. If you're going to buy a boring annuity, which is not even really an investment, it's a purchase. You buy it like you buy a car. Car is a terrible investment. Annuity, we don't know if it's going to go up in value. You buy it because it gives you a paycheck. This is why Bill would be out of money if the way he earns 8.25% isn't delivered in the right fashion. People, 8.25% is hard to earn after fees, and even if you get it, but you get it the wrong way, you're out of income. Does it make any sense to gamble your ability to pay your bills, or even gamble your ability to leave an inheritance on the market giving you some rate of return and then having to give it to you the right way? Imagine getting to the end of your life and saying, I averaged 10% in the market, or 12. Let's use the Dave Ramsey number. I averaged 12% from the day I was born to the day I died, and had crappy income and left nothing behind for my entire estate because the market gave it to me in a way that just wasn't favorable. Well, mix it up again. It looks like the third option would be they're reversing it. They're giving the 2009 numbers first and going backwards to 1990, saying, what if that's the way the market delivered this money to you? They call it Jim. Jim's balance is $500,000. And by the end of his 20-year period, he got his $30,000 a year. He didn't run out of money, but there's only $118,000 left. So 3 different ways to earn the same exact rate of return. You don't know which one you're going to get, or even if you're going to get this high. And your $500,000 could go to $822, could run out in year 16 or could be $118,000. What's the moral of the story? Is it that stocks, bonds, and mutual funds are bad and they're from the devil? No, it's not that they're from the devil. It's that they're gambling. This is not something you can count on, no matter how many slickly dressed snake oil salesmen, joker brokers say, well, all we have is past performance, and every 10-year time frame in the S&P 500, it's made money. No, it hasn't made money. There's a rate of return associated with the mathematical mean looking at time frames, and you have no guarantee whatsoever, it's 100% gambling, how you're going to get those rates of return. In the future, you don't know what the rate of return is going to be. You don't know the sequence of returns, so whether you're going to make any money or not, and you don't know what taxes are going to be. Can we please stop being so ignorant and everyone just agree? You need in case, you need emergency funds, you need income. You must be able to pay your bills. Retirement is 30 to 40 years of unemployment. You had a paycheck and then you didn't. That's what it means to be retired. You need a paycheck. The leftover money, the increase money, you can grow in annuities where you never go backwards and there's no fees. That's fine. You could grow in life insurance where there's low fees but no taxes. That's fine. You could grow it in real estate where it's not very liquid, but the appreciation is nice and you get rents. That's fine. You could buy sheep and hope they appreciate. I don't care what you do. Can we please all just agree, though, that stocks, bonds, and mutual funds is a gamble? You don't know what you're going to get, and the industry is delivering numbers to you that are false. You just need to own it and be aware of that. Okay, sequence of returns. How you earn the rate of return affects your real rate of return. See, you can't use that 8.25%. The only way to really say what you earned is to go to the end and say, what was my balance? 822 over 20 years, taking out $30,000 a year. What did I actually earn? You can get a compound annual growth rate that way. Or looking at negative 201,000. What did I earn? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So another way to look at this is some simple math from a friend of mine. Let's take a look here real quick. And he's got an example here that says, what if you've got $100,000 earning 6% and you're taking $6,000 a year out? Well, $6,000 on $100,000, that's 6%. You're earning 6% and you can take out 6%. Well, as long as the market delivers exactly 6% rate of return every single year with no losses, so next year it earns 6, next year it earns 6, next year it earns 6, and you're taking out the 6%, then you're fine. Why? Because you start with $100,000, it goes up to $106,000, you take out $6,000, your ending value is $100,000. Huh, cool. Next year, your $100,000 goes up to $106, you take it out, you're left with $100. Next year, $106, take it out, left with $100. So if you just get handed 6% perfectly from the magical market goddesses and they just give it to you and you take it out, your balance always remains the same and you'll be absolutely fine. Charlie can shut up about all this income planning because the market would take amazing care of your income. But have you looked at the history of the S&P 500? Does it go up at 6% every single year, or is it all over the place like a balloon you let go? What if it went like this? What if you put $100,000 into the account and it was 2000 or 2001 and you took some hits right away? Or it's the future crash that's coming. So what if you drop 35% as soon as you start? You put in $100,000, you lose 35%, it goes down to $65,000. Then you take out $6,000, which is 6%, and you're left with $59,000. And you lose another 25%. What? Could the market really go down 2 years in a row? Not often, but we've seen it. It's happened. Now you're down to 44 and you take out your $6,000, which was 6% of the original balance. You're down to $38,000. We're 2 years into retirement. You went from 100 to 38. And then you get 10% a year for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in a row. Baby, we should be back. 10% compound interest. Charlie just showed me in the Future Value Calculator. That should be a lot, right? No, because you're taking out such a high percentage. Over that time frame, you go from 38 to 21,000. Then you get some bomb years, baby. This is why we're in the market. Booyah! 25% up, 35% up. That should make up for the negative 35 and negative 25 we took in the beginning, right? No, because those were on a bigger number. If you earn 25% positive on 20 grand, it does not make up for losing 25% on $59,000. If you make 35% positive on 20 grand, it doesn't make up for losing $35,000 or 35% on $100,000. This is the simple, dark, ridiculous secret that should not be so hard to understand. You're left with $22,000. You started with 100 grand, and you're still averaging 6% and taking 6% out of your people. It is how you earn the interest that means everything. And that doesn't mean stocks, bonds, and mutual funds are bad tools, because there are no bad tools. It means they're terrible tools for taking an income or for growing money to an amount that you want to make sure you leave behind a certain amount. You can't know anything. Now, let's go to the heart. I mean, the absolute bowels and the heart of why I'm doing this angry show, whistleblowing on the industry. It is because crazy famous people blatantly lie and hurt millions and millions and millions of people every single day. I saw one person in my family go through this. Over 11 years, I've seen hundreds of families go through this. I cannot get to everybody in time. Hopefully this show will go viral or whatever needs to happen to expose these absolute frauds and stop them. Here's one of the worst articles I've ever heard in my life. I'm going to read it in its entirety. And it's from possibly the biggest name in financial planning, the most popular and trusted person. He even weaseled his way into churches and hurts people from inside. This article is called The 12% Reality. 12%. Whether you first heard blank mention it in the blank blank program that goes into the churches or on our website, it was undoubtedly followed by questions. Side note, as it should be. But most of those questions boil down to two important ones. Can I really get a 12% return on my mutual fund investments, even in today's market? And the second question, if I can, what mutual funds should I choose? Where does this 12% come from? Well, when so-and-so says you can expect, listen to the language, he says you can expect to make 12% on your investments. He's using a real number that's based on the historical, listen close people, listen to this word in the article, on the historical average annual return of the S&P 500. As if average meant anything. That's me, not the article saying that. The S&P 500 gauges the performance of the stocks of the 500 largest, most stable companies in the stock exchange. Side note, when you're lying to somebody, it's important apparently to make the index you're using sound really powerful and make it look like you sound like you know what you're talking about before you deliver the lie. Back to the article. It is often considered the most accurate measure of the stock market as a whole. The current average annual return from 1926, the year of the S&P's inception, through 2011, is 11.69%. That's a long look back, and most people aren't interested in what happened in the market 80 years ago. Side note, and most people shouldn't be interested in your baloney lies using numbers that don't mean anything. Back to reality, back to the article. So let's look at some numbers that are closer to home. That'll help. From 1992 to 2011, the S&P's average is 9.07. From 1987 to 2011, it's 10.05%. In 2009, the market's annual return was 26.46. In 2010, it was 8%. 2011, it was minus 1.12%. So, you can see 12% is not a magic number, but based on the history of the market, it's a reasonable expectation for your long-term investments. It's simply a part of the conversation about investing. But what about the lost decade? So-and-so often points out that every 10-year period in the market's history has made money, And that was true until the latest market drop in 2008. From 2000 to 2009, the market endured a major terrorist attack and a recession. S&P 500 reflected those times with an average annual return of 1%, and a period of negative returns after that, leading the media to call it the lost decade. But that is only part of the picture. In the 10-year period right before that, 1990 to 1999, the S&P averaged 19% annually, but the 2 decades together, and you get a respectable 10% annual return. Average annual return, he puts in there. But that's the past, right? You want to know what to expect in the future. In investing, we can only base our assumptions on how the market has behaved in the past. And the past shows us that each 10-year period of low returns has been followed by a 10-year period of excellent returns ranging from 13 to 18%. Are you still unsure? Will your investments make that much? Maybe. This is my favorite part of the article. Maybe more. Not maybe less, but will your investments make that much? Maybe more. But the idea here is that you invest and invest for the long haul. Don't let your opinion over whether or not you think a 12% return is possible keep you from investing. In fact, if you'd rather project your mutual funds to grow at 10% or 8%, that's cool with us. Just set a goal and invest whatever you need to do in order to meet that goal. Oh, people. He says, how do you find your funds? It's not difficult to find several mutual funds that averaged or exceeded 12% long-term growth, even in today's market. An investing professional, then they want you to go through their company and talk to a professional in your area. Folks, I know this is the most famous financial planner on the planet. Would you ever, on your worst day, would you ever entrust your retirement to somebody who's using fake numbers and lying and weaseling their way inside of churches and lying, saying that the market is going to make you or has made people, has compounded their money at 12%, when basic fifth grader math can show you that average rate of return doesn't mean anything about you growing your money. Up 60, down 20, up 100, down 40, you're losing money. You go up 100, down 40, you're down 20%. People, it's absolutely, it's just wrong. Let me just leave it there. Other than that, I don't have any strong opinions on the subject. It's just wrong. So why do I call people out by name? Because the man put his name on the article and is spreading this baloney throughout the entire country, and it's hurt people in my family, and it's hurting millions and millions of families. Here's the point. We're not going to stop this person. The government's not going to do anything about it. The industry's not going to do anything about it. It's too profitable for the entire industry. I'm telling you, if you found the show, you don't have to be hurt by it. You can run the other direction and stand with the truth instead of with the liars who profit from it, okay? So, long show. I'm sure it's been 2 months. I got a lot to say, but this article, or sorry, this chapter of the book, Keeping Your Money, is called Keep It Real. You got to be earning a real rate of return. Averages mean nothing. Averages mean absolutely nothing. And if you're taking income out of an account and earning average rate of return, it's a complete and total gamble. So whenever you see that word, average, I want you to question it. All right? Why do I teach you this? Because I think you people are the best.
Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett.
But that's all, folks.